Welcome to the first global product update in 2021. Today, I would like to introduce you to a small change on our roadmap. After that, I will give you a small overview of the last release. And I would like to conclude with an outlook on the new major version of Shopware 6. But first, a topic from the roadmap. In addition to our known topics on the roadmap, you now have a new section at the bottom of the page. Here are listed all the topics that we have planned for the period after the concrete roadmap. On the left side, you can see all the topics that will most likely be implemented next. On the other side are all the topics we want to tackle afterwards. However, these topics in particular are still completely variable and their prioritization can change at any time. You can only be sure that topics will be available in the product in the near future when they have been specifically planned at the top of the roadmap. Nevertheless, this is of course an important information for you if you want to take a look into the future. I've already introduced you to the wish list feature in the previous global product update. This was actually planned for the recently released 6.3.5 release, but we decided not to release this feature yet because we wanted to implement some more bug fixes first. Of course, quality always comes first, but wishlist will be included in the next release of Shopware 6.4. We are currently preparing the first major version of Shopware 6. There are still some topics that we need to prioritize in order to successfully release the first major version. From a purely time perspective, we are a bit behind on the Elasticsearch improvement, improved HTTP cache from prices and filters for admin grids. But the good news is that this will not affect the release date of the 6.4 release candidate, as this is just an internal reprioritization. So you can still expect a release candidate with this topics in March. Shopware 6 is historically still a very young product. Of course, we are aware of this. Therefore, we have greatly increased our efforts, especially in the area of bug fixes and improvements. Also, you have supported us greatly on GitHub to implement improvements and bug fixes. With your help, we implemented over 240 bug fixes and improvements just in the last 12 weeks. So thank you very much for that. On the 1st of February, we have released the 6.3.5 version of Shopware. I would like to give you a small overview of what is included here. The first topic is about the simple assignment of CMS layouts. Previously, you had to assign this for each entry point individually. This now works very easily directly on the layout element in the CMS. My colleague Aaron already introduced this feature in one of the last GPUs. Please have a look if you want to know more about it. About VAT handling for companies and define list price per rule, my colleague Moritz will tell you a little bit more in a few minutes, I think. And in a moment, I will explain the topic filter settings per category to you a little bit more. In the November GPU, Moritz already presented the changes to the custom fields, so feel free to have a look if you want to see it again. Filter settings per category. The point is that the store owner will be able to set the available filters in a very fine granular way. So let's have a look how it is working. For each CMS listing element, you can now configure which filters should be visible in the storefront. You can configure not only the standard filters like price, ratings, manufacturer, but of course also the individual property filters. If this is not enough, I can override these settings again category specific, as usual via the category module. And yeah, I think this is a very powerful and flexible way to manage all shop filters. Great. So if you want to know more about what is included in our releases, I would like to recommend our blog. You can find it on shopware.com. Among other cool articles, you can always find everything worth knowing about our published releases. In my last GPU, I already told you a lot about our first major version of Shopware 6. Today, I would like to give you an update on a few topics here. With the next major version, you can easily get all extensions from the community community store directly via the plugin manager in on-premise. This is already possible for quite some time in our cloud solution. Yeah, I would like to show you a few screen designs, how the whole thing could look. Please don't nail me down on this. It can still change at any time. So yeah, you know. This is the store listing page. And of course, you will be able to use some filter options to quickly find the right extension for your needs. And yeah, this is how a detailed page could look like. We have tried to make all informations as clear as possible here. So yeah, you will have a great overview. Also, the overview of already purchased extensions gets a facelift. This way, the most important functions like activating or installing extensions can be reached much easier. And of course, we have also given a lot of thoughts to the checkout process. We will make this as simple as possible. The next topic is already completely implemented and will be released with 6.4 because it contains breaks. Prevent deletion of used rules. As you know, we have integrated an extensive rule system into Shopware. At the moment, you might encounter problems if you delete a rule which is already in use. But this will no longer happen, as we clearly list each use of a rule before deleting it. There is also a new tab on the detail page of a rule where all assignments of the rule can be viewed. So all this, of course, grouped according to the areas used. At the moment, creating new rules on properties can be confusing because only the actual values are displayed in the rule builder and not the labels or the groups. We have now also solved this problem. When creating new rules, whether in the rule builder or in the dynamic product groups, the groups are also displayed for the individual property values. Of course, both groups and values are searchable so that I can make the right decision. For my last topic, I have also brought you a small video of the current status, filter and search for admin grids. Remember, this is about the integration of filter options in the administration list of products, customers, and orders. We filter here, for example, once by salutation and by the account status of the customers. So only the customers for which both filters apply are displayed. We implement here a generic standard solution so that it is very easy for us or for plugin manufacturers to provide new filters or new fields for filtering. So if that is even desired. Of course, the filtering can also be resetted completely or at each and every field. Yeah, and that's it from my side. And now I think Moritz will continue.
Yeah, welcome to the global product update of January and February. So we have a lot of new topics, I think, that we could show you. I will start with our enterprise team. We are working on drafts for shopping experiences, and this will probably be part of the next release. Not the next release, so it will be part of the PE edition in the future, probably. And we are working on some improvements, but the MVP is nearly finished, so it's ready for release in shortly. So let's start with a little screen recording. As you can see, we have a list of drafts for every layout in the shopping experiences. It's a little model window you can have a look at, and it will list you all existing drafts for a specific layout. And there's a general draft category where only drafts are listed. When working on shopping experiences, it's possible to add new fields like images and commerce sliders and so on, and then you can save the new shopping experience as a draft. And if you click on save, it will be directly live, and if you click on save as draft, it will be saved in the background and is not directly live, and you can work on it and improve your shopping experience without showing the changes directly in the storefront. So there's a button save or save as new draft. And if you save it as new draft, there will be a pop-up where you can define a name like test for GPU or something like summer sale 2020, something like that. And you can save it as new draft, and it will be a draft. You can see it at the left side on the top. There's a hint for the draft, so that it's clear it's only a draft. When working with draft, you can see who worked on your draft. So if you change your, if you open up a draft in the layout section, like for example draft for GPU, you can see there are 2 people who have worked on this draft in the last minutes, and there's also an activity log where you can see the changes that were made. We try to improve the changes a little bit further so that's more clear what was changed in the layout, but you can see every change that is done in the activity log, and you can see who has worked on this draft before. When you finish a draft, you most probably want to have a preview on it. You can save and publish, so it will be live if you save this thing, and it will be merged with the live version, and your draft is online, or you can create a new draft from the existing layouts when you want to change the existing layouts. And as I said before, it's possible to have a preview of your existing draft. So if you open up a draft like GPU duplication, there's a preview button where you can see your draft in the storefront, like a preview where you can see your changes directly. And in the future, we will most probably will add also a category selection and storefront selection to make the preview more flexible. So let's go on to the platform changes we've done recently. As Marcel mentioned, I've got some some topics from the 6.3.5. I will start with the tax-free for companies. With 6.3.5, you can now declare a country as tax-free for companies. So if you open up Austria, there's a flag tax-free for companies. And also an option for validate the VAT ID format. With format is meant that it's a combination of between characters and numbers. Tax-free for companies is used for B2B orders between European countries, and only orders with valid VAT ID are tax-free. So the document settings also change because it's necessary to show a hint on the document. When there is a tax-free orders for companies, it's intra-community delivery in English, and in Germany it's innergemeinschaftliche Lieferung. So you can activate this hint and choose the countries that should show the hint on the document when it's a tax-free order for companies. When creating documents in the order module, you can also see that it's a net order, like I will now go to the order itself first. Give me a second. And you will see it's a tax-free order. It's only grand total and nothing else is shown in the document in this view. And if you create a document, you will see the hint inter-community delivery. It is tax-free, so no VAT. It's displayed on the document, and also the VAT ID will be shown on the document. And let's have a look at the storefront. So if I add a product to the cart, now it will have taxes if I go to the cart, 19% in this case. And if I now proceed to checkout and create a customer that is a company, first I need to select an email address, enter a password, and change to commercial, so that's company. Yeah, and if you, I activated the VAT ID validation on based on the format. So this thing I input into the field now is not valid, so it will show me an error message because it does not fit the regulations for the VAT IDs. It needs to be some characters and numbers. It's different for each EU country. So this is a valid number, and then I can go to the checkout if it's valid. And now you will see I've created a tax-free country order, and therefore there is no VAT calculated on this order. So the next thing is custom search index. This will probably be part of 6.4. And thanks to my colleague from Vietnam that sent me a screen recording of the functionality. Thanks to Toby for now, and I will show you his screen recordings. So let's start with an easy case. You can choose between AND and OR search, and let's start adding some text to the products. In this case, it's made in Vietnam, and for another product, it will be made in Thailand. And then we change to the live search module in the administration. So it's a live preview of the search functionality. And when using the OR search and I search for made in or made in Vietnam, it will always find both products, because made in is available in both tags, and therefore the OR search will always find both products. And if I change the functionality to the AND search, it will only find one product, and this I will show you now. So if you change to the general tab, you are able to change to the AND search, and then change to the live search. And if you search now for made in Thailand, or made in will always show both, and if you search for made in Vietnam, it will only show you one result. So that's the AND search. And there's also the possibility to add some more fields to the search index. If you go to the search module, like search for a product like tea wine, it will show you the result. And probably you want to have some more information in your search index. You can choose between many fields and define if they are searchable or not. For this time, we will choose text and give it a priority, add it to the search index, and then we can add the field to the product. We can add a tag like Da Nang. That's a city in Vietnam where our colleagues are working. And then I can go back to the live search and have a look at the search results. If I search tea wine, it will show you the search result before. And if I add Da Nang to the search, the score will be a little bit higher. So you see that the result is working properly. So let's have a look at canonical URL handling. I think it's a really short video. It's now possible to define if a variant will have an own URL or all variants have a canonical URL that is the same for every variant. So I will now open a product and show you the basic settings. So there's no canonical URL definition on the basic product. Only if you create variants, it will show you the canonical URL handling. So let's start creating some variants for this one. Create variants. And if I then open the product again, it will show you the canonical URL definition on the first page. So if I scroll down to the zero settings, there's a setting use single canonical for all URL, and then you can select the variant that should be the canonical URL, and it will not be possible to delete this variant. So if you want to delete this variant and it's used for canonical URLs, it will show you an error message that is already in use for canonical URLs. And the last topic from the product will be list price per rule. This is also part of 6.3.5. It's now possible to use list prices in the advanced pricing. So if you select a rule in the advanced pricing, you can add list prices as shown in my screen recording. Also on step prices. It's possible to have list prices as well, and it's possible to hide it in the view. If you don't want to have list prices, you can select or deselect the list prices, and in the storefront, it will also be shown in the table on a detail page. If I open up the product in the storefront, it's also on a detail page that the list prices are used for the advanced prices. So some news about the 5.7. I think we will start working on the 5.7 SE2 in the near future. I'm really sorry that it takes some time to prepare this. So the current ICRC phase will take some more time. And we will prepare another release candidate because there were some issues that plugin manufacturers had with the current release candidate. So we want to make sure that they are able to make their plugin compatible with the version. So there will be a new release candidate in the next weeks or month. I don't know the exact date yet. If you will see it if it's released because it's a release candidate, and then you will have some time to prepare your plugins. And at last, some updates about our forum. We are planning to migrate the existing one to Discourse, and we scheduled to go live for the first week in March. So I will announce it in the forum later on. So one of the major improvements will be a single login for Shopware account and Shopware forum. So if you're a new customer, it will be easier to ask questions in the forum. An extended search functionality will also be part of it. So that's from my side. I will now end my screen recording and Aaron will take over.
First, warm welcome by me to the first GPU of 2021. And I will give you some updates on our plugins. Also, I will give a little preview on features coming up for the 6.4 for the core. And I have a little update on the cloud product. So first of all, let's start with the services, with the plugins. And yeah, PayPal, we have finished the disputes in iteration 1 and right now started working on what is called unbranded APM, which does mean that you can in the future define which payment methods should be shown, and they so you don't only have the PayPal button itself, but can also display the single payment methods in the storefront. And I have an update for the Unified Language plugin. I introduced that to 1 or 2 GPUs before. And what we did is that we before had, for every language we offer, we had a single plugin, and we now unified it into one plugin. And it's super easy possible to define in the settings which languages should be used for the admin and which languages should be used for the sales channels or for the content. And the languages already available before as single plugins, and that are also, of course, now in the Unified Language plugin, were Dutch, French, Spanish, Portuguese, Italian, Polish, Czech, Latvian, Russian, Bosnian, Danish, Swedish, and Indonesian. And with the release of the Unified Language plugin, which will follow shortly, so in a few days, I guess, we will also add 6 more new languages to our stack, and those will be Norwegian, Finnish, Hungarian, Romanian, Turkish, and Vietnamese. So Shopware will be available also in Vietnamese. So we added 6 more languages to our language stack, and there are also more to follow in the future, in the next month, I think. So stay tuned on an update on that. What else? We also have a new feature for the CMS extensions plugin, which we call the Form Builder. And we will release a first iteration of that also shortly in a few days. So what does it do? It adds a new CMS element, which is called custom form. And this allows you to customize your forms or to build up complete forms with dozens of different fields and field types for yourself. And you can save and reuse those forms you're building there as own templates. So you do not have to build up the form every time again if you want to use it in multiple layouts. And in the first iteration, it will be only mailing forms you can build up with that. But of course, in the future, in the next iterations, we will add more form types like registration and so on. And yeah, it will be available pretty soon in a few days, and it will be available in the cloud product from the advanced plan, also of course in the professional edition then, and for on-premise it will be available in the professional edition. And I will give you a little sneak peek on that, show you some designs of it. So you have this new element, and if you start setting it up, you can choose if you want to start with a already defined template, or if you want to build up a new template. And of course, you can also manage the templates you already built up and deleted and edit them and so on. And when you start building a new form template, you have the basic settings, and then you can define which fields should be shown. And this will look like this. You can add groups and fields. So you also have the possibility to group your fields and to set like headlines for the group and so on. And there are several different types of fields you can choose from. You can define how the width should be, if it should be a mandatory field, and so on and so on. And you can even use drag and drop to arrange those fields and to arrange the groups. So this is a pretty nice feature, I think. And yeah, when you finished building your form, you can save it as a template, or you can overwrite existing templates with it. Okay, so that's for the plugins. Now some core features we are working on. And first of all, you might have seen it on the roadmap, is the site builder, or the project site builder we call it. And this is basically a rework of the categories. And there are a lot of features in it, and I will give you a little sneak peek after explaining it. So first of all, we add a new, we add landing pages outside of the category structure. So if you want to define real landing pages with a separate URL, you can define it there. We are reworking in this the category types to make it much clearer what is the purpose of each category type. And also we have some nice little feature improvements for the different category types. We overworked the whole UI UX. So yeah, there are some much requested little usability features we implemented now. We will improve the handling of the entry points for the sales channels navigations, and in the storefront we will move the service navigation to the footer. But yeah, enough talk, let's take a look on it. First of all, the landing pages, as you can see here, there's a new section on the left side where you can add landing pages. You can assign, of course, a layout to them. You can make SEO settings and so on, define an URL, and define for which sales channels those should be used. And here, a pretty fully packed screen. And for the categories, as you see on the left side, one much requested improvement was that the user wants to see which category is active or inactive right in the tree without clicking on it. So that's not possible with this tiny green dots you see on the left side. And also the entry points for the navigations will be marked with a gray background you see here. On the right side, you can see that we overworked the detail pages of the categories. So until now, there was pretty much every card was packed into the general tab, and we split it up and put, for example, the SEO settings in an own tab and the product assignment to an own tab. And also the category types you can see here in the drop-down are reworked. What was before the category type is now page list, and what was the structuring element is now called entry point. And we also reworked the link category type, and we added a new one which is called column. I will explain later. And what you also see here in this screen is that you can now define the entry points for the navigations for the sales channels directly in the categories. You do not need to move to the sales channel itself and define it there, but you can also do it right from here. And you can also configure the home page. This comes into handy, like when you set, for example, you have a fashion store with categories like men, women, kids, and you want to have a second online shop, for example, just for kids wear. You can set the main category as entry point for the main navigation for the other store. And until now, you only had the possibility to use the same settings for SEO, for the layout, than in the normal category for the normal store. But now it's possible to configure what should be shown when it's used as a home page, as a starting point. You can also define if it should be shown in the main navigation or what should be the name of the home in the main navigation. You can set a separate layout for the home page and so on. So this will make the handling much easier. Also, for example, we reworked the link category type. As you can see here, you can choose now between external and internal link. And if you choose internal link, it's now possible to directly link other entities. For example, if you choose product, you could now choose a product with a product field, and the category will be linked directly on the product. You do not need to make any link copy paste actions or something, but you can directly choose where it should be linked to. And last but not least, already mentioned it, we have this new type which is called column, and you can't set it by yourself, but it will be set when the parent category is an entry point for the footer navigation, because the first level of categories under the entry point are always just defining the columns for the footer. And so now it gets much clearer that, yeah, what it does. And yeah, that's pretty much it, I think, for the site builder. There are also a lot more features, but you will see shortly in the 6.4 release. And yeah, last but not least, we moved the service navigation from the top of the page to the bottom. There were a lot of problems that you had to define, for example, the imprint 2 times to make it work on every viewport and in the minimal checkout footer and so on. And yeah, it wasn't that well done. And now we moved it to the footer, and it will work on every every viewport and also in the minimal footer and the checkout and so on. So it gets much easier, I think. And the second big change coming up with the 6.4 is the improved product UX epic. And what are we doing there? First of all, we are completely reordering and rework the tabs and cards inside the product detail page in the admin. Also, we will introduce what we call the simple mode. I will show it in a few seconds. You can now make a default setting for sales channels in new products. For example, if you build up a new product, then you can define for the assignment card which sales channels should be automatically assigned and which pretty much that. And also it will now be possible for sales channels of type storefront to assign products directly in the sales channel. So no more need to assign those sales channels on the product side, but you can now go from the other side, from the sales channel side, and assign manually or filtered by category or by dynamic product group. And I will give you also a little sneak peek on what I just talked about. As you can see here already at the top, you can see there are a lot more tabs. And before it was that pretty much everything that is possible to edit in the product detail page was in the general tab. So the general tab was pretty long and pretty full packed and not so easy to find the settings you want to define. So we split that a little bit into several tabs. And what you also see here in the top right is the advanced mode or the simple mode. The advanced mode is a default, which was is pretty much the one that how it's working right now. And also what is new there is that you can now define in the advanced mode which cards you want to be shown. And this setting will also be saved at the user. So each user in the admin can save its own settings here. And what does the simple mode? The simple mode is a mode defined by us, which will hide several tabs, several cards, and also several fields. So you really only have the fields that are pretty necessary to fill up the product. And as you can already see here, all the fields that are mandatory are in one screen. So it's much easier to set up new products with a simple mode. Yes, this is a setting I talked about, the basic setting. Here you can define when you set up a new product, which sales channels of the existing ones should be assigned and which visibility for those sales channels should be set automatically. So you do not have to set it every time you build up a new product. And last but not least, already mentioned before, and don't wonder about the huge save button on top. There was a little error in the design, so I just fixed it in the presentation program here. So what does it do? For the storefront sales channel, you have a new tab, which is called products. And if you haven't assigned a product to your new sales channel, you can just click on add product. And you have three possibilities to add new products. For example, you could just do it manually. You can search all the products and you can assign them from there. Or you can filter by category. Of course, this is not dynamic, so it's mostly just when you select one or several categories here, all products that are right now at that moment will be assigned to the sales channel. And the same goes with the dynamic product groups. All products that are right now in the dynamic product group will be assigned to this sales channel. And after doing that, you will have the overview of all the products that are assigned to this sales channel. So this will make it much easier when setting up a new sales channel to assign multiple products at once to this sales channel. So that's it for the plugins and the core. And now I have a little update on our cloud product, especially on the app system, and what has happened in the last 2 months. We released the Snowflakes app and the pop-up app, which is also free to use. So if you want to take a look at it, just take a look at it at the store. And further improvements are upcoming in the next few months for the app system. For example, it will be possible with an app to add a menu entry in the admin navigation, which will open an iframe where the app loads inside this iframe. And also already it's possible to add a button via app to the smart bar. Until now, it just opens a new tab, a new window. But in the future, it will be possible that this button will open an iframe, and there you have your app working in. Also, a huge topic in the next month will be payments. So we will make it possible via the app system to make use of payments. And also, a good progress will be that we will allow private apps, which is like the pendant to the plugin manager in OnPrem. So it will be possible to use apps not only via the AppStore, but also upload your own private apps, for example, your themes or whatever that should only be available for yourself. Okay, and also a little news. For the next Boost Day, we will also have an app lane. So if you're interested into app development and what's possible and how to make it work, look out for the next Boost Day. And there you will get some more information on our app system. That's it for me so far, and I think for the whole team. So thank you for watching, and bye-bye.